I want to create an anime opening. And to that end, I've been learning how to draw, digitally, with mixed results. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. If the last video was about drawing with pen and paper, this one is about moving from that to drawing digitally. So let me run you through that journey, and maybe if you've been thinking of picking up digital drawing yourself, this could be of some assistance. Now, as usual, let's check in with the plan that was created in the first video, with the green items being what was accomplished at the end of the second video. As you can see, and as I said last video, I had already purchased the graphics tablet, but I also mentioned that I would cover that journey in this video, so let's get right into it. To draw digitally, you need hardware. And while there are some amazing artists that can somehow create amazing works of digital art with merely a mouse and Microsoft Paint, I'm not one of those people. So I sought out and purchased a graphics tablet. There are a wide variety of tablets available, coming in all manner of sizes with a variety of different features. Many years ago, I had a nice little graphics tablet that I severely underutilized, and it eventually stopped working. In actuality, when I first thought of this animation goal, I dug it up and tried plugging it in, but it was definitely dead. The main thing that I learned from that old tablet was that I really wanted a tablet with a screen. With my old tablet, I never got used to not looking where my hand was, which made drawing connecting lines and other details way too difficult. Other things that were important to me were having some programmable buttons. You have to have a nice, convenient way of Control-Zing everything after all, and most importantly, pen sensitivity. This allows, depending on the drawing software that you're using, lines to naturally thicken or become less or more transparent depending on how much pressure you apply. Not to bore you with all the research that I did, but most of it came down to watching a lot of Brad Colbow and other art/tech YouTubers doing comparisons on various tablets, and then seeing what fell within my budget. Thankfully, as luck would have it, a relatively well-reviewed tablet was on quite a nice special, the Huion Canvas Pro 13. Looking at its Aussie price right as I'm writing this script, it goes for around 450 smackaroos, but I managed to snag one for just a little over 380. Now, it's not the greatest tablet in the world, the buttons are a little stiff, and one of the main buttons that I'd love to program actually opens up an options menu, and the pen feels pretty cheap. So much so that the two buttons on it are barely reliable. But all those little issues aside, it checks all the boxes for fulfilling my digital drawing needs. But drawing hardware is pretty useless without drawing software, so what was I going to do about that? Since I had dropped a pretty penny on the tablet, I was pretty keen on utilizing some free software. So once again, I visited the YouTube channel of Brad Colbow, and I looked at some of his recommendations. To make a long story short, I ended up going with a software called Krita. It looked as though it had a wide array of tools at its disposal, had community-created add-ons that were available, and what drew my eye the most, was able to handle both drawing and animation. The idea of cutting the amount of software that I had to learn in half was too good of a prospect to pass up, so I installed Krita and had a poke around. Now, after a few months and dozens of drawings, I can say that drawing software is really complicated. Having lots of tools is both a boon and a burden, in the fact that to get the most out of the software, you have to learn how to properly implement the toolkit. This is probably also my own fault. My preferred learning style is throw yourself in and get a feel before looking stuff up. So aside from the odd tutorial here and there when I was trying to figure out how to get certain brushes to use, I've been using the software more or less blind. To defend my decision, it was done intentionally. I'm trying to do the complete journey here, from barely being able to put a pencil to paper to becoming just competent enough to animate something. And journeys need to be done in steps. Before I learn all the techniques and Krita's special tools, I need to dip my toes into the digitally drawn waters and get used to even more basic things, the actual act of drawing digitally, putting those digital lines of ink onto a digital canvas. So I did. I digitally drew random images for videos, I digitally drew the thumbnails for those videos, and twice a week I spent at least an hour streaming myself drawing, with mixed results. Oh, and check me out at twitch.tv/blobbertmcnugget if you want to catch my drawing sessions. So, as you can see, most of these are unfinished. Speed is definitely an issue for me, and I haven't really gone back to these drawings since drawing them on stream. Quality-wise, I'd put most of them on a similar level, and I definitely haven't fallen into a style that I like just yet. However, simply by doing all of these drawings, I've learned something far more valuable. What I don't know. And that is pretty much everything. I mean, that is a bit of a cop-out, so let me specify. My first human drawing was actually the thumbnail for my second voice acting video. It turned out fairly flat, but that was to be expected. I tried to give it some life with shadows, but they weren't all that well implemented. Also, the levels of colour in the beard and eyebrows was probably a step too far. Next was the yawn, and following the stock image it was based on, I tried shading a larger portion of the face. This, to my mind, didn't end up too poorly. Although I didn't get around to doing the beard, and with how I tried to match the face wrinkles, it made the depiction look a couple of extra decades older. I then tried to do the stressed woman stock image, and it's probably my least favourite so far. The mouth is all wrong, the eyes aren't looking the right way, the hair is a disaster. Even though I ran out of time, the face is altogether flat. I thought to myself that the shadow from the previous image actually looked quite nice, so I tried implementing that same sort of shadow look onto the shrug stock image, whose pose ended up changing almost entirely, though it looked worse. Much flatter. I was also starting to realize that I had no idea how to handle hair in a simple and clean way. Thinking that reducing the opacity too much actually didn't help the depth issue, I then drew what is so far my favourite stock image attempt, the Ecstatic Dude. It may have been due to the fact that it was a face-on image, but implementing a harder shadow and even some skin tinting where the light hit it, as well as applying the shadow to the hair as well as the skin overall, just made it better. It also helped that it was a pretty easy pose. I even somehow managed to make the clothes wrinkles look alright, and I never make the clothes wrinkles look alright. The biggest issue with it was the nose, but in the grand scheme of things, I was pretty happy with this one. The next image stuck with a harder shadow, but once again the hair just didn't look right, and the nose had once again made itself known as an issue that had to be dealt with. My next dark skin character presented a whole new issue that I never considered. Why is his skin so shiny? For a lack of a better term. I was at an absolute loss as to how to create depth and duplicate the look of light reflecting off of his skin. This got me looking at tutorials as soon as the stream was over, and thankfully I found a great one by Chrisabug, which not only would help me draw darker skin characters in the future, but all manner of skin tones, including inhuman ones. I didn't manage to implement these lessons on my next image, the first of what I affectionately call my Asian Man at Desk series of stock images. It wasn't terrible, but once again I got caught on the hair. On the plus side, in the previous drawing, I had realized that I liked the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure style of nose, which had, at least for now, resolved my nose drawing problems. For the last and latest image, when writing the script, it was the second Asian Man at Desk image, though that one somehow made the least progress of all the images I drew, not even getting up to the coloring phase of the face. So, bringing it back to my original statement that I had to work on everything, let me specify on my immediate concerns. Hair. I can't draw it. Not well, anyway. I need to be able to draw hair in a way that doesn't look like a blob of clay atop people's heads, but also not so detailed that animating hair would become impossible. Skin tone. I started looking into resolving this using that tutorial from Chrisabug, but I need to start putting it into practice. Shadow. I've gotten a bit better, but before I start on bad habits, I should refer to some experts and see how they do it. I've seen a few tutorials and walkthroughs by David Revoy, and he's got a lot of good stuff on colour too. And he's got tutorials for Krita specifically, which is an added bonus. I've been a bit too liberal with the blur tool on my shadows, but I need to know when to use hard shadows versus soft or blurred shadows. Also, I've been using black shadows, but what I've seen is that isn't always that good of an idea, and that shadows should also have a tint of colour. Drawing faces at weird angles. Now, I didn't mention this specifically, but I've been letting eyes just kind of expand past the head shape, and that is a style, but probably not the one for me. Really, this is a problem that I was experiencing with pencil and paper, so it's not specific to digital drawing, but still, I need to get better at this. Those things have stuck out to me as the most pressing, at least for the moment. So, as I work towards my goals that I set up last video, which to recap were, number 1, drawing Ampharos punching Dragonite in the face, see the last video for an explanation. 2, having a digitally drawn image in every future video, which I've been doing so far. Number 3, creating streaming assets, which I've done most of them. The We'll Be Right Back as well as the channel banner and icon. Of the ones I listed in that last video, I'm missing the stream will be starting soon, but I won't need that for a while. And number 4, start defining some character design traits for characters to be used in the actual anime opening. That is not yet started. Now, let's ignore what I said that I'd get some of these done before this video. That was unrealistic of me. But I'll continue forward with these same goals, but I'll add one more to the pile. Number 5, I'm going to create myself a short critter cheat sheet that I can refer to for various techniques and tools. Now, from the tutorials I've watched through, there's some really neat stuff, especially David Revoy stuff and shadows and colors, but I need to learn how to do them so that they become second nature. Stuff like color blending and grouping layers together and somehow getting the shadow layer to be restrained by the dimension of the layer beneath. I'm going to create this cheat sheet and have it open as I stream so that I can refer to it until the techniques become ingrained in my body. Then I'll be able to share it with all of you as well. As I've learned, it's much better to have a deliverable SMART goal, so the cheat sheet will be the deliverable and the tutorials will be the method to create that deliverable. All in all, I'll keep going as I have, continuing to stream my drawing practice and creating those assets and thumbnails. I need to find my style and develop my slowly sprouting skills. There's no shortcuts that can be taken here, I just have to keep practicing and taking these incremental steps towards my end goal. So, once again, a big thank you and shout out to those artists whose tutorials I've been using. I'll link to their channels in the description, including some I didn't mention in the video. I'll also put a link to the tablet I purchased if you want to check it out, though I'd recommend doing your own research to find what's best for you. And finally, I'll put a link to Krita. It's a great piece of software and I can't wait until I get better at using it. If you've got any tips for drawing or any links to tutorials that have helped you, please let me know in the comments down below, or join me at twitch.tv/blobbitmcnugget and let me know during one of my morning drawing sessions, or any of my streams really. I'm always happy to hear from you because, after all, it's we attempt new things, not I attempt new things. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a fruitful day.